Have you ever wondered, why is the First Amendment to our Constitution the First Amendment? I'm Randall Terry. This is Voice of Resistance.
Those who forsake the law praise the wicked. Those who uphold the law resist them. Welcome to the Voice of Resistance.
Welcome to the program, friend. Make no mistake, the Republic is in danger. It is in grave danger. Your rights are in danger. They're especially in danger if you're a conservative Christian, but don't worry. If you're a left-wing liberal, your rights are in danger too. It'll take a little bit of time to catch up with you, but it will. Have you ever wondered why the First Amendment is the First Amendment? Let me read it to you. Congress shall make no law respecting an establishment of religion or prohibiting the free exercise thereof, or of abridging the freedom of speech or of the press, or the right of the people peaceably to assemble and to petition the government for a redress of grievances. Think about how many aspects of that amendment deal with communication. Communicating the gospel, debating various religious tenets that we hold dear, debating the role that Christianity, or any religion for that matter, plays in law, legislation, freedom of the press, freedom to assemble, to discuss. In other words, the bulk of this is about the ability to communicate, including communicating with the government. Redress of grievances. Right now, as you probably know, there is a move afoot to get Fox News off the air. There are people who are fighting tooth and nail to get Comcast, Xfinity, other carriers to drop the Fox News channel. Why? Because they don't want the message heard. This is literally about silencing people. Facebook just announced that they are going to stop recommending political groups to people. They're moving towards banning sending out ads saying, hey, join our civic group. They said, well, people don't want their experience to be muddied by political discourse. There's not much more than political discourse that would even make me interested in Facebook. And the same is true for a lot of you. Yes, it's nice to be able to catch up with old friends, but many of my old friends are old friends because we were in battles together, civic battles, political battles. Oh, and by the way, I'm using the word battle and fight. So now you have people in Congress that want to censor or come against President Trump with this fake impeachment because he used the word fight. I don't know any political leader who has never used the word fight. Politics is war by another means. The reason we have politics, the reason we have elections is so that we don't shoot guns at one another, so that we don't have revolution, so that we don't have coups d'etats, so that we don't have kidnappings and lynchings and stealing people's property and driving people into exile and unjust imprisonments. That's why we have political discourse. And yet you have people right now that are hell-bent on silencing the conservative right wing, the religious right wing of this country. And in the short run, they are succeeding. Now, I will grant you that Google, YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, these are all private companies, but they have become very similar to a public square. So President Trump, while he was president, had his Twitter account permanently banned. He had 75 million people that he could talk to multiple times a day with his tweets. So who's more powerful? President Trump or Twitter? YouTube has now permanently canceled President Trump's account. This is unthinkable. And I will grant you, I have defended the right of Twitter and YouTube to cancel anyone's account because they are private companies. All right? That is not the point of this discussion. The point of this discussion is that there are strong forces that want to suppress news, suppress dialogue, suppress debate. Now, we'll still be able, for the time being, to go into our churches and our coffee shops and have private discussions, or the preacher will be able to preach something from the pulpit. That's not going to go away anytime soon. But make no bones about it. It is in danger. Even those things are in danger, because if somebody can be impeached for insurrection because he said, go fight for your country, peacefully march, and then they call that an insurrection, if somebody stands in their pulpit and says, we've got to fight to get this republic back, is he mobilizing people for an insurrection? If President Trump's words can be twisted to the point where as a private citizen he is being impeached, which on its face is ludicrous, then what awaits the rest of us? I've got to take a break. When we come back, I want to talk about some of our dear friends in Christian leadership, Christian media, denominations, etc. Don't go away. Welcome back to the program. Make no mistake, Nebuchadnezzar, the king of the Babylonians, the man who led the Babylonian army to the gates of Jerusalem, destroyed Jerusalem, destroyed Solomon's temple, slaughtered tens of thousands of Jews. Make no mistake, he was a bad guy. He was a really bad guy. And yet God used him to bring judgment. God uses bad people to bring judgment. And the judgment, when it's happening, is unjust by human standards. God warned that his temple would be destroyed. Now think that through with me. The temple that Solomon built, that God blessed with his presence in the Holy of Holies, the temple that was filled with the Shekinah glory of God when Solomon dedicated it. God said, I am going to send an army to destroy the house that bears my name. The thing on earth, the physical location that was, without question, the most holy and sacred place on the entire earth, was destroyed. There is no parallel. So if I were to say to you, the Catholic Church has the Vatican as its seat of authority, physical seat, all right? The papacy obviously has the human seat of authority. But if I said to you, judgment of God was going to come and the Vatican was going to be destroyed, leveled, like Solomon's temple was leveled, that would be so unthinkable. It would be so horrific. And yet, it would not meet in severity the judgment of God on Solomon's temple, because Solomon's temple had the Ark of the Covenant. Solomon's temple had the 10 Commandment tablets inside the Ark, the manna, Aaron's rod that budded. Solomon's temple had the Holy of Holies, where God himself dwelt. There is no comparison that we can make in modern times to compare the destruction of Solomon's temple. And yet God did it. God did it. And he used a wicked, evil man to do it. It was his judgment on his people, because they did not hold sacred what he held sacred. They would go and kill their children in the valley of Topheth, literally, blood on their hands of their child that day. And then after killing their child in the valley of the son of Hinnom, they would come to Solomon's temple and offer more prayers. That's how sick and perverse things had gotten. They did not hold holy what God held holy, his temple, human life, innocent babies, innocent blood. And so God obliterated it, the very house that bore his name. And so when we read the Apostle Peter in 1 Peter chapter 4 saying that judgment begins at the house of God, that should cause us great pause. That is based, by the way, on a passage of Scripture from the book of Ezekiel. I'm going to read it when we come back from this break, but I want you to grasp what it is that I'm saying. The ability for us to communicate, the ability for us to practice our Christianity, and believe me, our Christianity impacts the public sphere. Our ability to preach the truth is coming under assault and under attack, just the way Solomon's temple came under attack. And I have a sneaking suspicion that this assault on our liberties is similar in form and in substance to the attack that happened on Solomon's temple. We don't hold sacred, at least not sacred enough, the things that God holds sacred. Let me explain when I come back, all right? Don't go away. Welcome back to the program, friend. Our liberties, our ability to speak, our ability to preach, our ability to communicate, if they're not sacred in the sense of a holy thing, like we have holy things in the scriptures, they're darn close. Sacred liberty, a God-given right, something that has been bestowed upon us by heaven itself. The ability to preach the truth, to speak the truth, to debate for the truth, to be apologists, to defend the truth, to fight for the truth. That is a right, a sacred right given to us by God. And with that right come duties. We have the duty to preach the truth, to defend the truth, to fight for the truth. I would submit to you that many of us have betrayed that duty, especially our major denominations. I don't want to take the time here to recount the treacheries of the Roman Catholic Church, the silence of Baptists and Assemblies of God. You can do your own research. You already know. You already know how little was said before the last election. How little was said about the evils that the Biden administration, which we are now witnessing, which he promised, how little was said about those evils and about those candidates. But I digress. I want to go to the book of Ezekiel. And by the way, please read the book of Jeremiah and read the book of Ezekiel for your sake. Take a half an hour, take an hour. I mean, you're watching television. You've got the time, all right? Wherever you are, whoever you are, you have the time to read the book of Jeremiah and the first 10 chapters of the book of Ezekiel. Really, just read the first 23 chapters of Jeremiah and the first 10 chapters of Ezekiel. Now what I want to do is read to you from Ezekiel chapter 9, where Peter is referencing, the passage that Peter's referencing, when he says that judgment begins at the house of God. Now as the setup, in Ezekiel chapter 8, God shows Ezekiel a vision of the abominations and the evils that are happening inside of Solomon's temple. Idol worship, paganism, things that are absolutely offensive to God himself. So let us begin with Ezekiel chapter 9. Then he cried in my ears with a loud voice, saying, "Draw near, you executioners of the city, each with his destroying weapon in his hand." Remember, he's having a vision. He's seeing angels or some type of figures that represent the judgment that is coming, okay? And lo, 6 men came from the direction of the upper gate, which faces north, each man with his weapon for slaughter in his hand. And with them was a man clothed in linen, with a writing case at his side. And they went in and stood beside the bronze altar. So in this vision, they are literally inside Solomon's temple. I continue. Now the glory of the God of Israel had gone up from the cherubim on which it rested to the threshold of the house. And he called to the man clothed in linen, who had the writing case at his side. And the Lord said to him, "Go through the city, through Jerusalem, and put a mark upon the foreheads of the men who sigh and groan." Another translation says, who sigh and cry, weeping, who sigh and groan over all the abominations that are committed in it. And to the others he said in my hearing, "Pass through the city after him and smite. Your eye shall not spare. You shall show no pity. Slay old men outright, young men and maidens, little children and women, but touch no one upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary." So they began with the elders who were before the house. And then he said to them, "Defile the house and fill the courts with the slain. Go forth." So they went forth and smote the city. And while they were smiting, and I was left alone, I fell upon my face and cried, "Ah, Lord God, wilt thou destroy all that remains of Israel in the outpouring of thy wrath upon Jerusalem?" And then he said to me, "The guilt of the house of Israel and Judah is exceedingly great. The land is full of blood." This is the blood of babies they were murdering. "And the city is full of injustice. For they say, the Lord has forsaken the land, and the Lord does not see. As for me, my eye will not spare, nor will I have pity, but I will requite their deeds upon their heads." And lo, the man clothed in linen with the writing case at his side brought back word saying, "I have done as thou didst command me." God sent, this is a vision Ezekiel's having, before Jerusalem was destroyed, before the temple was destroyed, and God said, "Go put a mark." You know, we talk about the mark of the beast. Here's a mark. Ezekiel chapter 9, this was a mark for the righteous. "Go put a mark on everyone who sighs and cries for the abominations that are done." Now, those people who sighed and cried, they would never have murdered one of their own children. They weren't worshiping idols. And yet the temple that they loved, the freedoms that they enjoyed as Jews, they were taken away. They were obliterated. They lost them as well. Even the people who sighed and cried suffered. They were taken hostage to Babylon. Think about it. Jerusalem was destroyed. There were 70 people left, and even those people ended up having to leave. This is what they faced as a result of the judgment of God. So God said, mark everyone who sighs and cries, and then kill everybody else. Begin at my sanctuary, and begin with the elders. This is why Peter said judgment begins at the house of God. Because the judgment that God unleashed in that vision that Ezekiel saw and then came to pass, it started at the temple with the elders and went out. Those elders would have included the priests, the Levites, the political rulers who had become so corrupt. We are seeing judgment begin. I'm not going to tell you judgment is coming. Judgment is here. And as with the Jews, we have earned it. I've got to take a quick break. Please don't go away. Welcome back to the program, friend. All right, let's bring this around. Modern day judgment, what happened with Ezekiel. In Ezekiel's day, the Jews did not hold sacred that which was sacred. They killed children. They didn't protect innocent babies. The blood cried from the ground. They had homosexual prostitution booths attached to Solomon's temple. The city of Jerusalem was filled with debauchery, idolatry, sexual sins, and the blood of the innocent was crying out. Because they did not hold sacred that which God held sacred, God took it away from them. Fast forward to today. We have not held sacred that which God holds sacred, and he is taking it away before our eyes. Oh, but Joe Biden's an evil man. Yeah, sure. So was Nebuchadnezzar. Yeah, but there's good people who've used the rights that God has given them. Yeah, there were good Jews. He still took it away. He took it away from everyone. The Christian community in America today has failed to protect innocent life. Sure, there's a few examples that are the odd man out. There's a few crazy Christians that are out there in front of the abortion clinics trying to save babies, working hard to get people elected. But there are tens of millions of people who say that they're followers of Jesus Christ who have never been in front of an abortion mill. They're not trying to save a baby. They're not preaching against the killing of children or against the debauchery and the evil and the idolatry that is cursing this land. They're not speaking up against communism and socialism, the theft of other people's properties. They're not using the right of free speech to proclaim the truth. They want this world's comfort. They want this world's goods. They want a good reputation. And so God is going to take those things away. They're going to be taken away. Biden talking about converting the entire federal fleet to electric cars, canceling the Keystone Pipeline. He's going to make us energy independent or dependent upon the Middle East again. The price of our fuel is going to go up. There's going to be hundreds of thousands, maybe millions of jobs lost. Our economy is going to tank. And because we didn't hold sacred what God held sacred, the things that we have striven after, the things that don't matter as much, those will be taken away, as well as the sacred liberties that we have spurned and squandered. I'll pick up with you the next time. God bless you. Go to our website and check out the material that we have there for free. God bless you.